Near, far, wherever you are, just be glad that you're not a Florida State fan this year. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to WreckTalk. I've got the green screen out today. I streamed some Bloodborne last night because that's how displeased I was with the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets there. So, it's a new week of college football. We're now in week 9 of this college football season. My team only has 4 games left. They played a week 0 game. They got 2 byes left. In fact, Tech is playing Virginia Tech this week. Then it's bye Miami, bye NC State, and Georgia. We say it every week. It just seems like, man, we were playing Florida State to open up this season not long ago. So here's last week's rankings. Definitely Georgia Tech's going to have to drop. Boston College is going to have to drop way down. They look awful against Virginia Tech. Boston College, Virginia Tech was a crazy game. Florida State can't drop any further. Cal, they're going to have to drop, right? They lost to NC State this week. So let's reset things and get to it now. We've got a new doo-doo tier this week. And the new doo-doo tier, got to be fair, is the Georgia Tech special teams tier. Now, if you didn't know, Georgia Tech has been absolutely awful on special teams. We effed up 2 kicks against Notre Dame. Took another penalty out of a basically timeout, substitution penalty before a punt. Let Notre Dame convert a bunch of punts against us, convert a 4th down, fake punt, whatever. I still can't process what happened, but let's just get into it. Boston College on the road playing a 7:30 Thursday night game at Virginia Tech. At one point, I watched this game and streamed a watch party of this game. This is one of the most wild games I've watched in a while. Virginia Tech gets up 28-0 at half on Boston College. Casanelos sneezes and fumbles the football. Boston College is a turnover machine. But then Boston College scores 21 unanswered points to bring that back to a 1-score game. And then it was like Boston College remembered, oh, yeah, we're awful. We got to start sucking again. They screwed up a field goal in this game, too. But yeah, coming out of the half, Virginia Tech had 2 straight turnovers, I think, on 2 straight offensive plays. But Virginia Tech still ends up winning 42-21, despite themselves really in this game. Boston College is a bad team. They're just a bad team. Now, I purposefully don't switch these around. Like, I just want to do a fresh power ranking every week and not be biased off of what happened. How I ranked them last week. Virginia Tech, with how they played against Boston College, I cannot say is above average. Their talent-wise above average. The Tootin running back they have is really, really good. He broke the school record for single-game rushing yards. There's been a ton of really talented backs that have gone through Virginia Tech in the years. What was it, 275 yards or something like that? But they get in their own way too much to put them in the above average tier. They open up like a 9.5 point favorite over Tech next week in Blacksburg, and I've seen 0 to think Tech wins that game. Anyways, then Florida State goes on the road to Durham to play Duke. And Florida State was on a bye last week, I think. No one's rooted for a bye quite like Florida State has. Maybe North Carolina did. Duke has never in 22 meetings beat Florida State. Ever, even when Steve Spurrier was their coach. They did it this week, though. Duke beats Florida State. Florida State is what, 1-6 right now. Again, it's not even trolling. Florida State is unequivocally the worst team in the ACC, and it's not even close. I think North Carolina would beat them by 2 or 3 scores. As bad as North Carolina has been, oh boy. I'm going to put Duke here for now. They only have one loss on the year. That's to Georgia Tech. But that's that's kind of an embarrassing loss for them. Georgia Tech has not looked very good. They're 5-3 right now. An embarrassing loss. It's not really an embarrassing loss to Notre Dame. The way that Georgia Tech lost to Notre Dame was embarrassing, but Georgia Tech hasn't looked like some world beater, and they covered a 2-score line against Duke. Miami at Louisville. This was my upset pick for the week. Turns out not the worst upset pick, right? 52-45. Now, admittedly, I only watched the first half of this game before I had to get on the road, get to Mercedes-Benz in Atlanta. But Miami's got 3 struggle wins. You know what? I don't think we can put them in the national title contender yet. I don't think we can. Or maybe we can. I don't know. No, they're going to stay here. Louisville now. What are they? 4-3. They essentially got the same record as Tech. Tech has one more win. I'm going to put them at the bottom of average. They've gotten beaten by some pretty good teams, including Notre Dame. They're doing some things where they just can't get out of their own way right now, too. Who does Miami have next week? Miami has Florida State in rivalry week. Miami, you better not let Florida State. I mean, there's like a 0% chance that happens, right? I don't know. Weird things happen in rivalry weeks. Virginia at Clemson ended up being much closer than I thought. I think that was a 21-point spread, so I definitely was wrong on my pick. Clemson up here too. That was an interesting game coaching against Tony Elliott. I think, Dabo will probably be the first to tell you Clemson didn't necessarily play their best game in that one. But Virginia now with 3 losses, still probably better than people gave them credit for. But Clemson, a very good team. Clemson with 1 loss now to the team that just ran Texas out of the stadium. And by the way, how crazy is that? An overturned PI call with throwing bottles on the field. I reached out to a guy who's a 20-year veteran, retired now SEC official. I'm hoping I can get him back on the show and explain to me how any of that make any sense. But that's the only team that Clemson has lost to. Virginia's a bad team. Virginia's a bad team, but they're honestly, I don't have them as bad as Boston College. Now, Georgia Tech, Notre Dame. Georgia Tech basically started off this game 3-and-out for Notre Dame, 3-and-out for Tech, and then Notre Dame Riley Leonard throws a pick deep in the end zone for Tech. And then that was really the last time the game was all that close. Georgia Tech screwed up 3 kicks. Like I said, took a substitution penalty on special teams after a timeout. Notre Dame has a very, very good defense. Very good defense. A lot of players are going to be playing on Sundays. Georgia Tech playing their backup quarterback. And I'm not backing off of it. I said that was the best path to victory for Tech in that game. And I still believe that. We just got flat out talented. And Georgia Tech just looks like a bad team right now. I've got to put them... I'm putting them behind Virginia right now. I think they probably beat Virginia, but they haven't played. When your special teams are as bad as they are at Georgia Tech right now, there's no way you can even sniff, in my opinion, being an average team. And look, I got to call it how I see it with my own team, right? So Georgia Tech down at the moment. With a 5-3 record. SMU dismantles Stanford. Is there really much to talk about with that? I think as wrong as I've been about this, you got to put them in the ACC championship contender. I didn't think they'd be 6-1 with their only loss being to BYU this season. Now, SMU, who do they have going out? How does it their first year in the SEC or ACC and they have this easy of a schedule? They've got Duke next week. That's the primetime ACC network game. Then they've got Pitt, Boston College at Virginia at Cal. They could easily only lose one of those games. I think Pitt might be tough for them, though they do have Pitt at home. There's some scenarios where SMU ends up making an ACC title in their first year. And look, I have nothing against SMU fans, but that would kill me because do you know the trolling the ACC would take and us ACC fans? Stanford now 2-5. You got to put them. What was Boston College's record? What is their record right now? 4-3. Yeah, we got to put Stanford behind them with that record. Stanford had a pretty decent win against Syracuse, going up on the road and pushing them around, but really hasn't done diddly poo squat since. Is what it is. Wake Forest at UConn. Wake pulls one out. They were an underdog in that game against UConn. I think did I take UConn? I don't remember. Wake Forest is what? 3-4 now? I'm going to keep them. Well, I guess I'll bump them up. They got one more win. It's not a conference win against Stanford. But, when they ain't. Oh, in fact, Wake, are they undefeated in conference play? No, they're not. They're 2-0 away. All right. Anyways, not much to say about that game. NC State at Cal. NC State ends up beating Cal. I had a lot of Cal fans commenting they do have a really, really good defense, and I probably was sleeping on them in that aspect. But what's Cal? 3-4 now? I'll put them right here. Horrible look to get beat by NC State. And I hate how this is stacking up. Like the vast majority of the conference is in bad Power 4 teams. But that's just kind of how I see it. So North Carolina didn't play this week. They're awful. I still do think Syracuse is above average, and I do think that Pitt, I think these 4 teams, Clemson, Miami, SMU, Pitt, have a chance to compete for the ACC title. And we'll just go ahead and do this week. I do think both Clemson and Miami have the talent to probably compete for a national title now. Miami does have like 3 struggle wins in a row. However, they're winning those games. In the past, they weren't. They were losing all three of those games in yesteryear. So a lot of teams on a bye this week. So a little bit shorter video. But we'll round it out with Clemson at 1, Miami at 2, SMU at 3. Actually, yeah, we'll just keep it like that. SMU at 3, Pitt at 4. Actually, we got to move Pitt to 3 because Pitt's undefeated, I believe. So Pitt at 3, SMU at 4. Syracuse, surprise for a lot of people early in the season, at 5. Virginia Tech at 6. Duke at 7, Louisville at 8, Virginia at 9, Georgia Tech at 10, Cal at 11, Boston College at 12, NC State at 13, Wake at 14, Stanford at 15, North Carolina at 16, and coming to the bottom of the Georgia Tech special teams tier, Florida State Seminoles. Let me know what you guys think. A little bit quicker video today. Comment, do you agree? Do you disagree? What games are you looking forward to? I'll be putting out a Picking the Spread video later this week. Be watching out for that. Y'all have a good one.